What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on Rangers Central, and today we are going to be talking more about the Barclay Goodrow bio, and I'm kind of just going to be spitballing a bit here how I feel with this team and potentially more changes on the horizon to take a break from the free agency stuff and all that other, just all the other stuff that we've been doing in terms of that with, targets and all that. Take a break there. We're going to talk about the Barclay Goodrow thing and what it can mean potentially further for the Rangers, and again, could there be more changes on the horizon? Before we jump into everything, please be sure to leave a like on the video if you do enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're a Ranger fan, and turn on your notifications so you know I upload or go live, which we have a lot to talk about because the Barclay Goodrow thing has some more to it because Larry Brooks dropped an article later last night because, again, I always get confused when I do this because pre-recorded content here, but apparently with the Barclay Goodrow thing, the title of the article, Chris Drury's ruthless no trade list call on Barclay Goodrow is exact approach the Rangers need. And he ended up quote tweeting this too, saying, after one cup over the last 84 years, ruthless is not a dirty word, which Larry Brooks was on a warpath. And honestly, I cannot blame him because what he was saying was absolute facts. And it's one of the points that I've been trying to make about this organization for a very long time. And especially with Chris Drury at the helm, that I have just been dying for them to make a change with. So just to paraphrase, certain things that were mentioned in the article, or I will read actually one part of it that's been circling around Twitter. But after speaking to multiple sources on Wednesday, there is widespread belief that Barclay Goodrow had included the Sharks on his 15-team no-trade list, that Chris Drury... that GM Chris Drury, sorry, I forgot the GM part, that GM Chris Drury got around by placing number 21 on waivers, where San Jose exercised the first claim to take the two-time cup winner. That was ruthless, and this is what championship organizations do. And I absolutely love it because later on in the article, I'm trying to find the exact wording here, but apparently Barclay Goodrow was not happy about it at all. He was very pissed off about the way that this thing went, and honestly, I love it. I absolutely love it. I know that people are going to say that's not a good way to treat your business. Who's going to want to play for the team if you are like that? My example is look at the damn Vegas Golden Knights. And even the Florida Panthers too. They win the President's Trophy, get rid of their top scorer in points, and look at them now. One win away from the Stanley Cup. Will they choke their lead? I don't know. But all I know is that two recent, successors, I should say, at the very least, or two recent examples of success are examples of it working. And granted, you could make the counter argument and say, but those Tampa Bay Lightning, look at them. They stuck around with their core and it worked. And yeah, it did. But they also made surgery around the roster. And I don't know if I'd consider Barclay Goodrow a core piece, quote unquote, even though he wears a letter and a guy that's, that you got to keep around, stuff like that, in terms of the unmovable pieces, because the core guys with Tampa, they weren't going to move Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, Vasilevsky, all those other guys. That just wasn't going to be realistic, and sure enough, it ended up working out for them. Hopefully that's the same case for the Rangers, because Zibanejad's not moving, Kreider's not moving, Panarin's not moving, Fox isn't moving, and Igor isn't moving, so hopefully they have the same fate there. But with Barclay Goodrow, this is where, again, you need to do surgery around other parts of the roster, especially the bottom six. And that's the point that I've been making with moving dead weight with guys like Barclay Goodrow, which they did. And hallelujah, like I said, that they got out of the full 3.6. Now they have a projected $12.8 million to work with, and that is with 12 forwards on the roster and 2 defensemen to sign. So they have a lot of room to work with. Obviously, you want to have a scratch at least in there, maybe 2. But still, they have about $11 million in play to go out and use on 2 defensive spots and a forward. And this is where I say, continue to cut the dead weight. Why stop this not being loyal thing? And this is where Chris Drury really has a chance to redeem both himself to the fan base and just himself in general as a face of a GM in the NHL. Because if you show that you are ruthless and you're going to do business based on what the results are and not feelings and, friendship bracelets, then that's what's going to be the difference in you being a GM in this league for a long time and being respected and not. Because at the end of the day, great these guys like each other. It's great that these guys won regular season games together, but it's not going to translate in the playoffs, and they need to cut the dead weight. That's why I had a tweet also that got a little bit of backlash because of one name that I mentioned, but I said keep cutting more dead weight. Cut guys like Jacob Trouba off this roster if possible. Cut a guy like Phil Peedle off the roster, which that was the guy that got a lot of, it got a little controversial when I mentioned Phil Peedle. And then Capo Caco, which I know that's also a little bit touchy of a subject there because of the fact that they just signed him and people still want to hold on the hope with him, which fair. But again, I think that at this point he's dead weight. And I think, why not tinker the roster? What are you doing waiting around and messing around with this core when the time is now? Go out and go full throttle on this thing. Like, why not go out and do it and cut the dead weight with guys like Kako and Hedel? And I'm not necessarily saying Hedel is dead weight. It's just, in my opinion, for a guy that's in the bottom six, I just don't value him as a bottom six type piece, if that makes sense. Like, I get that his ceiling could be a 50, 60 point guy, but at the same time, you want a guy like Hedel in your top six, and I just don't see him reaching his ceiling. I think for both parties it makes sense because he could play top 6 minutes elsewhere, and for the Rangers' sake, they could get a little bit more help around the roster, especially because you move Hedel's contract, then you could all of a sudden afford a top-line right winger who gives you better production than Hedel, and then you use a little bit of additional cap space to sign a third-line center to replace Phil Hedel. So that's just my point in terms of that. But Kako and Trouba, I mean, those guys I think are just dead weight in general for this team, especially at 5v5, which that's the main thing this team has to get better at, right? At the end of the day is 5v5. And we talked about that ad nauseum, and they have the ability to do it. And I just love that Chris Drury's going with this. We don't care who you are. We don't care your status. We're not going to mess around, and we're going to cut the dead weight here. And again, I am hoping that this continues. I'm hoping that this isn't just a Barclay Goodrow thing. I'm not willing to throw out the pom-poms and celebrate yet in terms of him changing and being that way. But that's, again, this is what you have to do if you want to win in this league. You have to make the tweaks and the changes. And we talk about copycat league, this and that. Find your own formula. Find your own formula. And the way that you could do it is, because you also do have to model off of what previous teams have done. But a lot of it is, because like I mentioned, the previous models obviously say you have to be a good 5v5 team, which is where I say cut the dead weight. And then the previous teams that I mentioned too, cut some of their dead weight and, plugged and played. That's what this team needs to do. But then also find a way to tinker in your own little formula on top of that. So that's what the Rangers need to find a way to do. And it's going to be interesting to see how this offseason goes. Like, I am so intrigued to see what's going to happen over the course of the next few days. Yesterday was just insane with all the moves that happened, whether it was trades, whether it was the Goudreau claim. And yeah, from tomorrow, we're only a week away from the draft. And then after that, I mean, we're pretty much there with free agency. Like, we are really getting into the thick of things, which is insane because the Stanley Cup Finals is still on, because league is just ridiculous. They need to change that because it is so stupid that the cup is going to end potentially like it could potentially end on Monday and then the turnaround to the draft the same week. That's a little ridiculous. But again, we'll have more content here coming your way. Let me know your thoughts. Are you guys happy about what Chris Drury is doing in terms of this attitude that he potentially is taking with this organization now? Are you guys still annoyed about Goudreau being moved on from? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below about the organization, what you feel in general, and how you feel about this team going forward. Are you guys feeling confident? Are you feeling worried? Let me know all your thoughts. Like, I don't even know. I was all over the place this video because organization has me all over the place right now. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one.